Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday. It is 8 p.m. You know what time it is. It's time for the chaos. I am the DOC, the Doc. I am
I'm
joined.
King James. How's it going,
We
Doc?
are. Oh, it's going pretty good, man. Pretty good. We've had a lot of requests for part two of this, specifically the Mothman of Chicago.
Ooh.
So, but we had talked about some in the last one that we're going to have to cover first, real quick.
All right.
And
What we
then
got?
we will. We've got Indrid Cold, who was a key feature of the November 1966 Mothman in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. What we know about Ingrid Cold is he is called the Grinning Man. Um, Basically, as he's walking up to you on the road, he's got a big smile ear to ear, but it doesn't move.
Plastic surgery.
So the one guy who had seen him the most was, let me put up show title. Boom. Ingrid Cold is the first topic for the day. It's going to just take a little bit of time. So this actually happened a little 7 days before the very first Mothman sighting with the power station and the two couples getting chased in the car.
Okay.
So Woodrow Derenberger, um, he's coming home one night. He was a sewing machine salesman living in Mineral Wells, West Virginia. November night that year, Derenberger said he was returning from a business trip to Marietta, Ohio, when he had to stop to adjust a sewing machine in the back of his truck. All right, so he pulls off to the side of the road to fix this thing.
Right.
Once he got back on the road, he noticed lights ahead of him. So he's got a light. He's thinking it's cop cars. The road's cut off. But he discovers that it doesn't belong to a car, but what he said looked like a kerosene lamp chimney aircraft hovering above the road. And we're going to use quotes. I had to print this out because we got quotes.
Whoops. Woohoo.
We got quotes. We got
Yes.
actual honest to God information here. Quote, he looked perfectly natural and normal as any human being. Derenberger told Ronald Maines during an interview with WTAP TV in Parksburg, West Virginia, the day after the encounter. His face looked like he had a good tan, a deep suntan. He was not too dark, but it was just like he had been out in the sun a lot and had a good tan. His hair was combed straight back, and it was a dark brown, and he seemed to have a good thick head of hair. His eyebrows, his face's features were very normal. I don't believe that he looked any different from any other man that would be met on the street. So, what happens is, my notes got a little screwed up here. There we go. Too many notes. All right. Derenberger goes on to say he had a large grin and kept his arms folded with his hands underneath his armpits. And though he spoke to Derenberger, his smile never moved. He spoke, Derenberger said, telepathically. And here's more quotes on his interview. He asked me to roll down the window on my right-hand side of my truck, and I'd done what he asked, Derenberger said during the interview. And this man stood there, and he first asked me what I was called. And I know he meant my name, and I told him my name. And he asked me, and he said, "Why are you frightened?" He said, "Don't be frightened. We wish you no harm," he said. "We mean you no harm. We wish you only happiness." And I told him my name, and when I told him my name, he said he was called Cold. This is when the entity known as Indrid Cold was first publicized. Now, I mean, there's little, is he a man in black? I mean, he preceded the Mothman sightings by 7 days. All right. So Derenberger goes in. He reports it to his police. The next day, the media takes off. Derenberger agreed to be interviewed by WTAP. Taking part in the interview were members of the state police, representatives of the Wood County Airport, the Parksburg Police, and a representative from the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Daytona, Ohio. For 30 minutes, the men peppered Derenberger with questions about the strange encounter. Now, you're looking at a one person coming in with a show, and this happens, and everybody's going, okay, yeah, I've got one person. Well, after the interview aired, others came forward with claims that they had also seen Indrid Cold and the same descriptions that matched him.
And in the same areas, I'm assuming?
In the same area. Everything got mixed up. I blame the dog. Okay. All right. So then, after the interview aired, everybody came through and said it. Other people had said they claimed to see lights and fluttering vehicles on the road. Derenberger said he talked to Cold on, and several witnesses reported they had seen Derenberger stopped on the road talking to a man. So, we've got other eyewitnesses on that night, on that road, saying that, yes, we had seen Derenberger talking to this guy.
Okay.
All right. All right. So we only got two more little pages here of Indrid Cold. We'll discuss that a little bit. Then we got the Library Book of Chicago. Now, we're working Indrid Cold into this because of the fact that he has a lot to do with Mothman mythology. All right. So then, Derenberger gets a lot of scorn, ridicule. He checks himself in for psychological help. He gets a clean bill of health, found no evidence of chemical imbalance or disruption. He wrote a book about this, which you can buy on Amazon. Not going to plug it, but you can find it on Amazon if you look up that guy's name. But nothing, you're thinking, okay, he wrote a book, he's going to become famous, do the talk shows. Nothing happened out of this. Nothing ever came out of it. He basically got to the point when he just disavowed everything because of the fact that with the media, the scrutiny, Indrid Cold apparently had kept calling him and visiting him on his back porch. So it was always coming back to kind of hunt him.
So he went in seclusion.
He went into seclusion. Derenberger reported he was visited often by the strange grinning man over the course of the next month. Eventually, Derenberger's family said they too had seen Cold and other strange things. Then, of course, this all gets out. A lot of people come in. The media, they're staking out the house because now they want to get a picture of this Indrid Cold. Well, after a while, he just decides he's done. He's done with the whole situation. He wants nothing more to do with it. Indrid Cold becomes just another legend on the Mothman's trail.
Their footnote. So this was back in 66.
66. So like 7 days before the very first Mothman sighting. And then, of course, it was a month after that. Wandering Spirits of the Pacific Northwest says, hi, guys. Hey.
Hey. Good to see you.
Toast to you.
Yeah. We got the toast going, all right. So, just after only a month, after a month, it just completely stopped. He just kind of went his own.
Well, after a month of being hounded and doing everything else, he wrote the book. The book actually came out in 72, I believe it was. But after a while of just being kind of done with the whole situation, Derenberger just, like you said, he goes into seclusion. He wants nothing to do with it. It's done nothing but ruin his life. His story stayed the same all the way up until the day of his death.
I kind of wonder if it only went on for like a month or so, I just have to think that maybe it was actually continuing on longer than a month, and he just didn't say anything. Just I don't see how it would just stop and nothing else happened. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
unfortunately, the only person that would know if it continued on would be Derenberger because he literally just kind of went. Um, he
Uh, he what?
he just kind of went into seclusion, disappeared off the face of the earth because it was just turned into a
Too much.
giant nightmare.
Too much for him. He going
Yeah,
criminally
I mean
insane.
the visitations, the media scrutiny, the book never was a bestseller.
No, okay.
Like I said, it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. I've been tempted
Ah,
to buy it, and get it, and read it, just to kind of see what he was saying about it. But no, Ingrid Cold got to be such a cancer to him that
it,
he just wanted nothing to do with it. It
it
brought
just
him
seems
nothing but misery.
it just seems super. It just seems like it's weird that it only lasted like a month. Just just like the researcher here says, the whole thing's super weird.
Well, again, that's just what he reported up to. Yeah, it kept going. The news was at his
Right.
house trying to figure out. So I'm sure at that point, if you got the news vans camped outside your house day and night, at a certain point, you're going to be like, yep, no, haven't seen nothing. Nothing's happening.
Nothing's happening, but in reality there is, and he's just not admitting to it.
Well,
Yeah.
it really didn't work out for him like it's worked out for other people that have witnessed it. Uh, you know, Patterson Gimlin, where'd they go?
True.
They witnessed something. They were able to make a living off of it. Even though the fact that I've met Bob Gimlin and he's a very humble man. So talking to him face to face, I believe him. I've seen the look in his eyes. He's just real humble about everything.
Right.
Um, this guy, Darren Berger, we can't look him in the
Yeah.
eyes. We can't go talk to him. But yeah, I mean, if that was happening to me and Ingrid Cold kept calling me and visiting me and giving me prophecies and whatever whatnot that's going on, and you're trying to get that word out there, and hey, listen, this is happening. This is really happening. And then they're camped outside your house day and night like you're some celebrity. Um, yeah, it's just I would disavow it myself. I would get to that point and just say, you know what, I want nothing to do with this. You want to know what happened? Read the book. And nobody bought the book.
Shame.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, on some ends, I would like to have met Darren Berger and just shake his hand, look him eyeball to eyeball, and get a personal read on him.
Right.
What was going on. I mean, it's if we were to compare it to anything, it would be like some of our clients who always are getting visitations from spirits. You know, you're going to want to reach out there and be like, listen, this is happening. Can I get some help? Can I do this? You know, and then it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And then you get to the point of just like, you know what, I'm just going to live with it because it's just bad press and it's not working. And Zach Baggins comes to the house and then he does his show and he makes you look like a jerk. And
Let's not go there. Please.
I'm not, I'm not
Hashtag
saying
watch
he's,
Baggins. Come on.
I should add that. All right, give me your 2 cents on Ingrid Cold. I'm adding that.
Well, my 2 cents on Ingrid
It's your
Cole.
moment.
Don't tell me that. Hey, questions bound. I mean, why was he out there on the road? I mean,
He was going home.
he was
Oh,
going
Ingrid
home.
Cold. Why was he out there?
Yeah, yeah.
Darren
I
Berger
mean,
was going home. Why was Ingrid Cold?
right. Yeah, I mean, why is he there? I mean, what was his purpose? What was he looking for? I mean, communication. Yeah, Dylan or whatnot ran into him, but I mean, for me, it's just weird that he would be standing out in the middle of the road waiting for somebody to come by. Go to a neighboring house or
Yeah,
community and all that stuff. I mean,
yeah.
really,
Well, I mean, what you're looking at is
what's the story of this Ingrid Cold entity or whatnot?
he was basically just trying to tell us that the human race is needing help, and we're here to help. And
Oh hell, we already know it
he
needs
just,
help. Shit.
but his messages all seem to be along like the Mothman's, pretty much prophecy of
Hmm.
doom and gloom. And hey, listen, we want you change things, and we want to make things better for you. Um,
Well,
it was just
okay,
one of
so
those
if it's like a
messages
prophecy
getting
type deal,
across.
well, if it's like a prophecy type deal, you got Ingrid Cold. Okay, yeah, he's wanting to try to communicate with the the human race, and then you got the Mothman who likes to want to chase people, and then wherever he's at, there's
Sometimes a lot of
some sort of destruction that happens. So I mean, I don't know.
well, I mean, in the movie The Mothman Prophecies, they do kind of lay it out in a way that kind of makes sense. Um, if a window washer on a skyscraper,
Uh huh.
he can see further than we can, so he's up on a building, he's looking down, and he can see the car crash that happens 4 blocks away. We're on the ground, we can't see it. So if
Right.
he's trying to tell us and he's screaming down, yeah, we're not going to be able to understand it. So, I mean, I'm paraphrasing what the movie said to fit the illustration, but that was what they said was, well, why doesn't he just come out and tell us in plain English?
Right.
Well, the window washer up on the high rise can see the car accident 4 blocks away, but can you hear him from here?
Yeah. Parabolic mic will do wonders.
But yeah, so Ingrid Cole's just one of those weird characters that pops up right in the middle of 66 and all the Mothman stuff. So I mean, you got the Mothman, you got UFOs, you got Ingrid Cold, the Men in Black. I mean, it was just kind of a weird place to be in West Virginia.
It just seems
And
like
I,
a weird time in history. Everything's happening either in the 40s or 60s. It's every 20 years or so.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a crazy little time. But I mean, like West Virginia's got a lot of cryptids, which we're going to try to cover 2 or 3 more after this. Um, I mean, some cryptids are like uh, pretty interesting, pretty cool. Some have been seen once, some have been seen twice, some have been seen multiple times. But since we started with the Mothman, we're going to go ahead and we had mentioned Mothman being in Chicago.
Chicago.
Chicago. So Ingrid Cold, we're going to wrap up on that one. It's an interesting story. I will probably buy the book just to read it and have it.
Yeah, no.
Um,
If it wasn't a bestseller, I don't want it.
I'll summarize it for you.
There you go.
All right, but that's going to move us right into Mothman of Chicago, which actually was asked for, by the way, on our last video. Somebody, yes, somebody on the DBK page actually requested that we do Mothman of Chicago tonight
Oh, nice.
because apparently they live in Chicago. So
Oh, Sweet.
If they're
I hope
watching, then they can
check us
chime in.
If they're watching or listening, chime on in.
All right. So then, the feedback there. All right. So we got to go back to 2011.
Okay, if we have to. 2011, what we got?
2011. It's a crisp autumn evening at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. A United States Postal Service worker, a 15-year veteran of the job, is walking to her car after a long shift. As she approaches her vehicle, she notices a tall, dark figure standing at the far end of the dimly lit parking lot. Initially, she assumes it's just a person wearing a long coat, but as she unlocks her car and the headlights illuminate the mysterious silhouette, she suddenly understands this is no ordinary person. The figure turns to face her, revealing a pair of large, glowing red eyes. What she had mistaken for a coat unfurls into a set of massive bat-like wings.
Wow.
The creature stands well over 7 feet tall, begins emitting an unsettling chirping sound, a rapid clicking noise that sends shivers down her spine. Suddenly lets out a deafening screech and charges directly at her, its wings propelling it forward at an alarming speed. In a moment of sheer terror, the woman dives into her car, locking the doors and frantically starting the engine. As she peels out of the parking lot, the wing monstrosity soars overhead, vanishing into the night.
So
Had to get a little emphasis on into the night.
Right? Yeah. That's I think that's the first time I've heard it mentioned that it was making a chirping or whatnot noise. You know.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't in the original ones.
Right. I was gonna say I recall it.
Yeah, I mean there's other case files in this stack of papers. It has been seen around the Chicago area well over 160 times.
What?
It
160 times?
100 over 160 times. This has been cops, firefighters, paramedics. This has been normal everyday people. This is just it's still being seen around the Chicago area, mostly around the Chicago O'Hare Airport.
I was just gonna ask, where's the most sightings at? So it
The
sounds like
most
the airport.
sightings, the airport, and then there's actually a tracking map. If you look up Chicago Mothman, somebody went through and documented every single sighting on a Google map.
Breeding ground.
And you just there's dots everywhere, all over Chicago. All right, so then, so that started in 2011. Witnesses ranging from airport personnel to visitors have reported terrifying encounters with a winged humanoid that looks like a Mothman from Point Pleasant.
So you think the Mothman from Point Pleasant kind of migrated over to Chicago?
If Mothmans happen to have a long lifespan, why not? It's next to a big body of water. I mean, no natural disasters have been happening there, and it's been going on since 2011.
And when was the last thing that happened in Point Pleasant?
Point Pleasant was right after the Silver Bridge fall in 1967. What was that? Just before Christmas.
Okay.
Are there Mothman sightings? International asks wandering spirits of the Pacific Northwest. Yes, Mothman has been spotted at Chernobyl just before the meltdown. It has been spotted in Japan just before the tsunami. It has been spotted in a lot of places where they've had bad earthquakes and large amounts of fatalities. No, I have to pronounce all my words.
No, you don't. Drinking this.
Oh, what I do.
All right.
I'm just throwing papers to the side here.
Yeah, that works. I mean, so the next incident over there in Chicago is
Well, if I can find that page again. We've
some help.
got an airport security worker went out to have a smoke break, and he was over by the perimeter fence, and he caught something in his eyesight.
Was this at daytime or night?
This was nighttime.
So both incidents were at night.
I would say about 90% of them are at night.
Okay.
I do have one in here that is like during the absolute day, which is weird. So the guy goes out to have a smoke. There in the shadows was a massive black winged being. As the officer watching, a mixture of awe and terror, the creature turned its head, revealing a pair of glowing red eyes that seemed to pierce the darkness. Suddenly, the entity let out a bone-chilling shriek, a sound that the witnesses compared to screeching of train brakes. With incredible speed and agility, the Mothman took off to the sky with its powerful wings propelling it. It did not give chase.
I wouldn't give chase either.
I don't know that page. Let me see. So, I mean, yeah, we've got a lot of it. You know, the creatures perched on top of buildings.
Sitting on planes.
That window. God, I hope not. We don't need that page.
God, love this. Little chaos in the mix here.
Just a little bit of chaos. All right, so they've seen it on perched atop buildings or light poles. Its red eyes gleaming in the darkness. Others have described the entity as having a humanoid body structure with distinctly human-like legs and arms, in addition to its expansive wings. Yeah, huge 10-foot wingspan is what some people have said.
Okay. Wow, that's
many witnesses have reported feeling as though the creature was watching them intently, as gaze locked onto them with unsettling intensity, which kind of goes along with my sighting when I saw it and it was looking at me and I'm looking at it, and then it just takes off in a shot. So it didn't chase me. It doesn't chase a lot of these people. So why it chase some people and some others don't chase, I don't know.
So it kind of mesmerized to the point where you couldn't move, per se.
Right.
Wow. You know, sometimes I feel a little jealous that I haven't seen any of this stuff. God dang, I kind of wish I would.
Let's go to Chicago.
Yeah. I think I'd rather go to Point Pleasant.
They're both easy. Well, technically, for me to get into Point Pleasant, I got to fly into Chicago and then rent a car and drive south.
Oh, well, okay.
Twofer. All right. So other aspects of the sightings that are being reported here, and I've got notes because I don't want to mess this up.
Okay.
Mothman apparently has an apparent lack of fear or concern for being spotted. So apparently this guy just does not even care that people are seeing it.
Wow.
So people are just walking down the road, like when we go out squatching, we're making a lot of noise most of the time. So a lot of things are hearing us or smelling us coming through, and they're not, they don't want to stick around. The Mothman, on the other hand, you're walking down the road making a lot of noise, and the Mothman's just standing up there like, what you gonna do? Huh? Come on, what you gonna do?
This goes along with me having a hard time.
I was gonna give him a New York accent, but
yeah. Okay.
All right. Witnesses have reported that the creature often makes no attempt to conceal itself, even when in close proximity to people. This peculiar behavior has led some to speculate that the Mothman is not a mere animal, but an intelligent entity with an agenda of its own.
Well, yeah. I mean,
reading this page. So yeah, what we have is, which seems to be the fact. I mean, like Bigfoot, in our experience, has tried to camouflage itself and hide even after we've seen it. These things just
Right.
apparently just sit out there and be like, okay,
We don't give a
you caught
crap.
me. What you gonna do
Yeah.
now? Yeah, we don't give a crap. I'm
And
trying to find the one. Here we go. Broad daylight.
broad daylight.
Broad daylight. Let me change out the banner real quick. Still
Yeah.
no more new comments. Anybody that's watching, go ahead, give a comment. I know we don't have our third member here for chaos and unbridled chaos. Okay, so yeah, they're saying that over 160 different reports around the Chicago area. Some
Hmm.
are like 60 miles from the airport. Some are 100 miles away from the airport.
Right.
Um, and I'm going to quote this one because it's interesting. One of the most intriguing sightings took place in broad daylight, a departure from the Mothman's typical preference for the cover of darkness. A Chicago firefighter stationed at O'Hare was taking a break on the roof of the airport's HVAC plant when he spotted a peculiar figure perched on the edge of the building. The entity, described as having a humanoid body and expansive wings, was staring directly at the firefighter with his piercing red eyes. The two engaged in an intense, prolonged stare down, neither one breaking eye contact. After what felt like an eternity, the Mothman casually unfurled his wings and left from the rooftop, gliding away on an air of nonchalance.
Ooh,
Mothman don't give a damn.
right. Wandering
Uh,
Spirits of the Pacific Northwest is asking, what's the reported size of the entity? Large, small? They're new to this.
uh, we're about 7 feet tall, um, and a 10-foot wingspan. So 7 feet
Big
tall,
size.
probably thinking about 10-foot wingspan. Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those things that I'm making a mess over here. Wandering Spitz says, "Yeah, no, yeah, no."
Well, yeah, no. I mean, but then again, if they don't care if people see it or not, it doesn't care. I you, I had a little bit of problem with this altogether. I mean, something like that doesn't care if it's seen or not, but yet it doesn't. Well, I don't know if there's any reports of it hurting anybody, but it just kind of scaring people is pretty much all it does. You know,
Right now, like with the clicking, some people have said that that is a
a
like
warning system.
Bigfoot.
Oh,
Well, like
talking. Okay.
trying to look at the right words. Subsonic vocalization, like Bigfoot does. Apparently,
Okay.
Bigfoot is able to do a subsonic vocal emission that
Mm-hmm.
to humans it's above our tolerance level. So, like if we're out in the woods and we're getting a little uh, the heebie-jeebies, nothing feels right. The 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 theory is that they're putting off a subsonic type of um, growl,
Communicate.
a sound, a communication, and they know that it messes with our bodies, um, so that it drives like a sense of fear into us. It would be probably the same thing as like if you go into a haunted house and they find the certain strobe lights that if you hit somebody with a strobe light at a 78 flash rating, 78 flashes at a certain a minute,
Right.
you can trigger fear on somebody or seasickness or that kind of thing. But it's just a way of using sound to basically make your target not really prey. Um, I'll get to that question here in a second. I'll be curious if any dogs reacted or heard the Mothman. I'll get to that in a second. Um, so with the Mothman doing the clicks and everything, everybody seems to be frozen in the spot when they see this thing. So I know when I saw it, I was frozen in the spot because it was more like, um, did I have a sense of fear
Of-
about me? Um, it was more wonderment because I'm crazy, I'm insane, but I definitely wasn't going to move first. I was not moving first. It was like, oh crap, and it's looking at me. I'm looking at him, and then it took off like everybody else has been reporting. Is just like, okay. And then after it left, I was like, you know what? I need to leave now. It wasn't a, I need to stick around. I need to figure it out. I need to go see tracks. It was like, nope, nope. I think I'm ready to leave now. Now we did have a question about dogs reacted or heard the Mothman. Yes, in Point Pleasant in 1966, a farmer was being plagued by the Mothman, and his dog actually ran out to confront him. And the farmer said that he did not want to go out. He was terrified. He was scared. He even had a shotgun. He walked out the front thing. He saw something down by the barn. The dog took off to go get it. But he said he was just overcome with this fear. And he went in, locked the door, closed all the windows, hid underneath his bed with a shotgun. Didn't come out to the next day because it was just this overwhelming, heavy in the chest feeling, just fear. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. The next morning, he goes down to look for his dog, and it was a great big old dog, a big old mastiff. And he said you could track the dog all the way down to the beginning of the barn, to the barn doors. And the dog was running around something, and then the tracks just disappeared.
Disappeared. The dog disappeared.
So what it had run, the dog disappeared, probably because he didn't find any blood, didn't find any fur, but the dog had definitely gone down and was encircling something to defend. So the no R.I.P. to the goodest boy. Yep, that mastiff went down with a fight. But the theory on that one is Mothman happened to just pick him up and took off. Which, by the way, there was a dead mastiff when our famous two couples were coming back from when they were going up to the power plant. They saw a dead mastiff on the side of the road, and when they were coming back with the police, that later on, the dog was gone. Was it the same mastiff? Yes or no?
Probably not. Well, maybe.
Don't know. We weren't there. I wasn't around in '66.
Nope, neither was I.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this. You
Not a
just
lot.
toss this stuff to the side, man.
A lot of it's just stuff we've already covered and other things.
Nice.
All right. So then, a lot of people are asking about why it's still sitting around Chicago, why it's still being seen daylight, nighttime. I mean, there's a report of a couple walking their kids down the sidewalk in Chicago, and it's as they come out underneath a street light. The street light goes out, and they look, and it's a Mothman has now got its wings wrapped around the street light.
Ooh.
They get frozen in fear. They're staring at it. It's staring at them, and then it takes off, and the lights come back on.
Yeah.
So what are you get, huh?
I got nothing on that one. Sorry, you're kind of flickering in and out on me, so I'm catching parts of it.
Yeah, I lighters up for the Mastiff is what Jade says.
Rest in peace, poor soul. You did your duty.
You kept your owner safe.
That's right.
So a lot of people are looking at Mothman and they're trying to come up with a theory of what it is. Is it a unknown cryptid, Bigfoot, Mothman, distant cousins? Is it an alien entity, such as Ingrid Cold, um, UFOs, little gray men, little green men.
They're dropping him off for his little potty breaks.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I don't know, man.
But the Mothman's one of those things that is still like, well, the fact that it's still out there, it's still being seen, and that's like the big thing. I don't need those notes; those are all doubles. All doubles of things we've already talked about.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's been a busy day. I had to take off. I wasn't able to get everything put together exactly, and the dog came through and mixed everything up.
Nice. That's what dogs do.
Yep. So yeah, we've still got sightings going on to this very day of Mothman. We don't have any natural disasters in Chicago. We don't have any.
But it's usually reported that there's some sort of disaster after seeing one, right? I mean, it happened in Point Pleasant,
Point Pleasant, Chernobyl,
Japan.
Japan, Brazil. I think there was one in Chile.
Okay, so why not Chicago?
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, if he is a harbinger of doom, maybe he's just way early.
That's
Maybe
probably why he doesn't care if anyone sees him. He's just way too early.
maybe he got the news from the mothership saying, "Hey, listen, okay, you need to go down. You need to tell these guys this is going on, and be ready on this date." And then it's kind of like the end of the world scenarios. Okay, the end of the world is going to be February 14th, 2026. Wait, no, we were wrong. We're going to push that back a little bit more. Okay, it's 2027. It's 28. It's 29. It's 32. And if it's a Mothman or multiple Mothman, and their job is to warn us of natural things,
Mhm.
maybe they're just still hanging around Chicago, going, "Come on, guys! I've got another case, man. I got another showing." I got
Right.
to be in London. I got to be in London at 9 p.m., man. What's going on?
Uh,
Not that anything's going to happen in London. Okay, we've got Wandering Spirit says H. Holmes was in Chicago, mass murder during the World's Fair. Well, that would be the large bodies of deceased. Maybe the Mothman's late.
by a
He's either
while.
early or he's like way late.
I'd say that was way late.
That's probably why he just doesn't care anymore. God, they put me here to do this thing, and God, I missed it. And, Wandering Spirit says maybe he stuck around for that. That's probably why he just doesn't care if he's seen. At this point, he's probably just like, nobody listened to me then. Nobody's listening to me now. I'm just gonna hang out and scare people.
Uh-huh.
Hey, we all need hobbies.
That we do, yes. But for him just to stick around, that's not a hobby. That's just frightening people.
Might I have a word with you, please?
Apparently, I'm echoing. Good to know.
So we've got Ingrid Cold, we've got Mothman, continue on. We've got the UFOs that all kind of seem to be tied in with all this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the Mothman. I've got a tattoo.
Yeah, you
Mothman's my
take that.
backdrop in case.
Yeah, I saw that. Nice
Yeah.
guy.
Well, I only get tattoos of the things I've seen, so.
So the next one will be a Squatch one when that happens, huh?
Already got a Squatch.
Ah, shit. You've seen a Squatch. Never mind. All right. So, Mothman. Where else at least in the U.S., has the Mothman been spotted?
In the U.S., I have not heard any reports of him in the U.S., even though that there was a rumor that they had seen him around the World Trade Centers for 9/11. That's a rumor. There's not a lot of reports on it. So I don't know if that was true or not.
So, Chicago and Point Pleasant are the only places in the U.S. that the Mothman has been spotted.
In the continental United States.
Why do I feel like there should be more?
Well, he was also seen in Alaska, but that's really not the continental. It's more kind of off to the side.
Well, hell, there's woods over there to hide in.
Well, he was seen right before the big tsunami up there back in 50s, 40s, something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean that goes even back further than that.
Then the Point Pleasant. Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yep.
I'm still up in the air with this one, man. I'm telling you, something just doesn't sit well with me here. I mean, cryptids and all this, you think. I mean, you hear so much stuff like with Bigfoot, how they communicate, how they let you know that they're there by throwing stuff and this and that, but yet Mothman just kind of doesn't care if it's seen and just takes off. I mean,
Well, I mean the theory is Mothman has a higher
intelligence
than a Bigfoot does.
Now, who claims that a Mothman has more intelligence than a Sasquatch?
That's just the way they're saying it. That's just some of the reports of it. Just seemed to have an intelligence about it, where it knew what it was doing.
It has an agenda.
So it has an agenda that it's going through. But there's one way we can find out.
Yeah.
We take a weekend, we fly into Chicago, we get the car, we drive down to Point Pleasant, and we go through the museum and we look at all the stuff they have there.
The original documentation. Now that would be good.
Original documents. It is the one-stop shopping for Mothman. Because the man that owns it and runs the Mothman Festival, his parents had a sighting of the Mothman that was record worthy. And there was a lot of witnesses for that one. So the guy's parents bring him home, and he's a baby, and they've got him in like a little, not really a car seat, but like a bassinet. And they're bringing him in. Well, his mother apparently was walking back out to the car. Had left the car. The husband, the father of the man who owns all that, goes into the house. The mother's packing Weatherly or Watherly. I don't know where the correct spelling on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But as she remembers, she forgot something in the car. So she turns around with the child, starts heading back to the car, and ends up seeing the Mothman standing on the opposing side of the car staring at her. And it's one of those other scenarios where she's kind of locked in place, eyeball to eyeball, just staring at it.
Huh.
Well, the father, the husband, comes out and has to shake her awake while two of the other people that were at the house come out, take pot shots at it, shotgun blast in the air, get it to go. It leaves. They get her in. They end up barricading the house. And for the next, I think it was like 2 or 3 hours, they could hear it walking around the roof, scratching the front door, and trying to get in.
So an aggressive.
And then after a while, it gave up and it left. Well, I mean, it was also fired upon.
Oh yeah. So it's defending itself. I get that, but I
Yeah.
mean, if he's
So
walking around scratching on the doors, if he's this big bad old humanoid bird thing, you would think he'd be able to break down the door.
yeah, unless he was,
At least he knocked.
at least he knocked is what we just got.
Exactly right.
I think at that point he was just basically letting them know, it's like, hey, listen, I'm just sitting here, I'm just looking, I'm trying to have a conversation. Oh God, you just shot at me. Fine, I'm gonna scare you for a little bit, and then, all right, did you get the message? Don't shoot me.
And did they have any more incidents after that?
No, not that I can find any. But that little boy, that little baby, grew up and had heard all the stories from his parents. He's a Point Pleasant native. He bought a storefront, put in the Mothman Museum, grabbed everything he could, every last bit of documentation, films, books, reports, anything he can get a hold of, and he's got them all up in his museum. Um, Next to the museum is the world famous Mothman statue. It is a 7-foot metal Mothman, big glowing red eyes, big
Right.
wingspan. And then I believe it is this coming weekend is the Mothman Festival in Point Pleasant.
I thought that was last week.
No, it's this week, I think.
Oh,
I thought it was last week. I think it's this week or the week after.
okay.
Wandering Spirits of Pacific Northwest says, I just want to be on the record. I never kill moths. I catch them and release them outside. FYI. Well, yeah, you don't know if it's a baby Mothman and in disguise. So we got a few more minutes. We're going to open this up to our viewers.
Well,
If there's
I did
anything
have
you want to know.
a question, but then I realized it was a dumb question, so I'm not even thinking about asking it. But because I'm like sitting here thinking, okay, Mothman, flying bird. I'm having to sit here and think about this before I was going to ask. It's like, okay, this dates back all the way to '66. What if it was a human in a flying suit? You
Well,
know?
actually, that would be a whole nother show about flying humanoids because
All right, fair enough.
actually in 68, there were people sitting outside of Rainier, Oregon, so just up the road from here, and they saw two flying humanoids but they didn't have any wings. They were just looked like men with jetpacks on, flying
Okay.
up the river.
Well,
But
I think
we didn't have jetpacks.
no, and we
We
didn't
didn't
have
have jetpacks back then. Yeah.
so yeah,
Because even the jetpacks we have now are just kind of a short flight scenario.
yeah,
These were going for a long time at a good altitude.
right.
So that's a whole nother show. But first, we got to get through 2 or 3 more West Virginia cryptids.
Yeah, this is gonna be great. Well,
Yeah, we've got the Grafton monster. We got the Flatwoods monster. And then there's one more that I'm going to save where it's a really cool little story of aliens invading and the family having a shootout
with
and
aliens.
actually with aliens and actually tagging them and bagging them. That might be the final West Virginia show. So we'll
Oh,
do
now you got me interested in this
well. We got to do Grafton. We got to do Flatwoods, and then we'll do that one third. Don't want to get too far ahead of us. And we
one.
don't have Bill here to throw in extra things about crop circles.
Yeah. I think we tossed them out to the crop circles, didn't we?
There may or may not have been a human sacrifice to a crop circle.
Gotta love it. Sorry, Bill. Not sorry.
Because I know it. I know it pisses them off. I know it pisses them off when we say it, but I'm not saying it was aliens.
Right.
but it was aliens.
Wandering Spirits has a
And some,
question, and they're asking any military interactions with Mothman?
none that are on official record.
Not
Those are
official,
coming from
but unofficially there are some.
unofficially. We've had military personnel come forward and say that yes, they've had sightings and encounters with these things, but they can't go on record. So I don't know the validity of those reports because this is during the Chicago area uh, and the current sightings that people have come on and said, they anonymous. Yeah, we saw it on base, yada, yada, yada. And Wright Patterson apparently had a few sightings. But again, it's not official. Nobody's given their names. So is it a troll? Is it a Bill that's just getting on a webpage and saying, yeah, I saw this? Ding, ding. Hey, Bill, don't be late next time.
I'll leave that one alone.
I am an unfair and just God. I say 750. Be here at 750.
So, has Mothman
Yes, that's sacrilegious.
ever been seen in a crop circle? Yeah, then Bill. And the show's going off the rails at the end.
Doesn't it always go off the rails at the end? You know what? I think for one of these next shows, I think we need to probably get Wandering Spirits to join us for the chaos.
Yeah.
Their show. By the way, anybody who's stuck around for the last 57 minutes, if you ever get a chance and you want a good podcast, not chaos, Wandering Spirits of the Pacific Northwest has a fantastic show where it's not off the rails. It's not chaos. There's no alcohol involved.
No.
Much. I believe Mr. James Ramos, it would be Chardonnay, if I'm correct, if I remember the interview on Friday. Oh no, they say, woohoo, we're in, and we are complete chaos. You kidding. We live for chaos. Chaos is our middle name because the world is chaos. We embrace our chaos. We embrace our darkness. But next week will be Flatwoods Monster. No, Grafton, then Flatwoods. And then the Demons of Dover. The Dover Demons. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of given that one away real quick.
Yeah, no.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for hanging out. We will see everybody next Sunday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're gone.
Good night.
Night.